Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to Mahogany Sweets. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you want to. So, I wanted to come and talk to you guys about the Joe Budden podcast. Rory and Ma is missing. There's tension and strife in the midst. Twitter is speaking about it. People are on YouTube in the comments speaking about it under today's episode. Well, I first want to start this video off with saying this. Okay? Y'all being in the comments and all on Twitter, calling yourselves picking sides, blaming others, blaming certain ones, bigging up ones, but while doing that, pitting other ones down. If you think that's going to get your desired result of them all coming back together, it won't. Whether you know it or not, that's going to feed egos and create even a bigger divide and divisiveness. Taking that approach, please do not do that. It's only going to make things worse. What we should be doing as fans and supporters of all three of them is supporting all three of them through this by encouraging them all to figure it out, mediate, take time, and just do what's best for them. But going into talking about money, who deserves more money, verbalizing, not watching if a certain one is here or not, and all that kind of stuff, only going to create a bigger divide, only going to increase egos, frustration, resentment of one another. It is not going to bring them together. So please stop doing that, okay? Be a supporter of all three of them, and whether they stay together or don't, continue to support all three of them in whatever endeavors that they do, including the Joe Budden podcast. Because in case you don't know this or not, the Joe Budden podcast, as well as the other ones, Rory and Maul aren't the only ones who eating off of that, okay? You have engineers, such as Parks. You have assistants. You have editors. You have, like, all their lawyers, their management. It's a lot of people eating off this one podcast, as well as the other ones that are under the Joe Budden Network umbrella. So you saying that I'm not going to support Joe Budden to support Rory and Maul isn't like the smarter, wisest thing. You can support all three of them at the same time in whatever they choose to do, which is what I will be doing. However this pans out, I will continue to watch the Joe Budden podcast because I'm a fan of Joe Budden by himself. And if Rory and Maul go off to do other things, I'm going to continue to support them because I'm a fan of them by themselves. They don't have to be together just because I want them to be. Okay, come on. Things can come to an end. So let me get into this. We are now here at Rory and Maul, missing from the Joe Budden podcast. On today's episode, which I have not finished all of it though, I might even have to come back and do a second part, but I just wanted to come and address this. Joe is addressing that no, they're not on vacation. There is tension, there is problems, but we already knew this, okay? Because Rory makes sure that he lets us know that there's tension and problems, right? So from what Joe is saying and describing, I see a couple of things going on. He is, like, his emotional state seems like he is affected by this. He does miss them. He does want them back. But I also understand his other turmoil because it seems on the other end, he has become a businessman. And he is the head, the front runner of not just that podcast, but this entire network. And I think that also might be another issue. And we're going to get into it. So let's just go back. We have Rory, right? About 3-4 years ago, it had always been tension between Joe and Rory. And what I picked it up as back then was the tension was older brother, younger brother type of tension relationship. The younger brother, of course, wanted the respect of his older brother, wanted to be equal to him, seen as an equal by him. And then you had Joe, the older brother, who, what does older brothers do? They nitpick, discredit, and son, little brothers. So I just picked it up as that what was going on between them. Rory wanting Joe's respect and acknowledgement, and Joe not giving it to him. It was cute to me because, like I said, I seen it as just a typical big brother, little brother type of relationship. Well, maybe about 2-3 years ago, things evolved, and Joe did respect him. You could tell that Joe acknowledged him, began to submit to the respect that Rory not only wanted but deserved, right? But I also seen the elevation in Rory, where Rory had gotten to, which I actually made a video about this, about the Joe Budden podcast and exactly what I'm talking to you about right now. I think the elevation in Rory, where Rory had gotten to the place where he no longer was needing, desiring Joe's respect or approval anymore. So they both had reached this healthy medium between the two. Rory had got what he wanted, but also finally came to the place where he did not need it or seek it that much either. Then you go on, more tension and strife came about, and it went on to just, a little cattiness of friends. I believe part of it is Joe is for some an acquired taste, right? You would need him in small doses. So I summed up some of it to that, the later tension being some of that, as well as Rory having his own personal issues going on in life. And people project. When people are going through things, they can subconsciously or consciously misdirect their energy and aggression towards something or someone else. So I think that what's even going on now, but what has started then, was Rory just redirecting frustrations, irritations towards Joe at the workplace, that was coming from home or other places in his life, as well as Joe being a very, what would be the correct word to call Joe? Being a very strong personality, I'll call it that. Well, we later got to where I believe we at now. Joe is the boss. And I think them all four starting out this podcast, because yes, Park, I actually look at him as one of the cast of the Joe Budden podcast. Them four all starting this out, right? It wasn't any money in it. It was something they was doing as leisure, as a hope and a dream. And I think more specifically, Joe Budden's hope and dream that his friends was willing to support and come on board. I think that they did not know where it would go, had no intention or desire of even where it would go. They were just like, hey, just cool. But we know it's easy to do something, be committed to something, and be more relaxed with something that doesn't have real money or business involved, right? Well, due to the growth of the podcast, where now money and business is involved, I think one of the issues, that number one by itself creates tension and strife. But I think one of the other issues that created with Rory concerning Joe is that Rory looked at him, or still looks at him as, no, you're my friend, you're not my boss. But no, Joe is your boss on this podcast. Yes, y'all all 3 or 4 started this out together. No, it wasn't money in it, but you are not equal to Joe in the business aspect of this podcast. And I think that that's something that Rory's pride and ego does not want to submit to. I think he wants to carry on as, no, we are equal. I personally feel that whether he is getting paid the same amount that Joe Budden is or not, neither one is wrong. If he's not getting paid what Joe is getting, that's not wrong. If he is, then it's not wrong. You know what I'm saying? More the merrier, more love to you. But Rory's ego and the fact that he look at it as, you're my friend, you cannot be my boss, is what is causing a lot of this tension. And then you add the money that's involved. Because if I already look at you as, you're not my boss, you're my friend, then right. And I already look at it as, no, we have to be equals in all aspects, friendship aspect and business aspect. That's going to cause tension. So I understand both of their points, but I'm sorry, I am leaning more towards Joe as not being the biggest cause of that issue. Because let's look at Rory. Rory is very emotional. Rory is actually more of a diva than what Joe Budden is. That's how I see it. I'm sorry, because if we notice and go back, Rory always finds something to be upset about. Rory always finds something to feel is a problem. It jumps once one thing seems to be swept under the rug and done, he finds something else. So we actually kind of seen this. Maul, on the other hand, Maul is very professional, to be quite honest, because clearly Maul does have some type of issue with something, but he wasn't coming on camera and verbalizing that to us. He was keeping business as business, which is behind the scenes. That's where business goes. He wasn't coming on camera to discuss any grievances or anything that he had. He was keeping it under tight wraps, and I respect that. That's what a lot of high celebrities do. They're not going to go and discuss their dirt, because that's considered laundry or private matters, your business, your contracts, your grievances with your contracts and stuff like that. Which Parks spoke to that today. One of the things that Parks was saying today is he said one of the things he was making a differentiation between, did I just botch that? Yep, I can't talk, sorry. But he was making a difference between how him and Rory chose to handle things. And Joe posed a question: how do you handle business with friends? And Park said, what I do, and he was saying this was opposed to Rory. He said, I don't discuss business with you. He said, I do a lot of business with you. I work with you. I'm going to continue to work with you. He said, I do not come to you directly and discuss business. So Parks is letting them know he keeps it on a creative and friendship level when he talks to Joe. So creative, when the music, the podcast, creative, friendship, intertwined with the creative, but he keeps that all separate. And he said anything he feels or needs done, he goes to his lawyer, management, and he had them talk to Joe's people. And he said that is what has kept them from having issues. And that is very wise on how things should be done. But what that made me pick up is that Rory isn't doing that. Rory is going directly to Joe Budden like, hey, partner, this what I don't like, this what I want, da-da-da. And then we all know Rory is emotional. He's sassy. He's a diva. So I could imagine that, yes, that's coming off wrong, because that'll probably have Joe looking like, dude, F you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be strife and tension, because guess what? Just think about it. When you have a grievance or upset about something, whether it's with a spouse, a relative, or a co-worker, or boss, you already go into the conversation on the defense. What is that going to do? People, we receive energy and we normally match energy. So if Rory going to him on the defense, which I can just imagine how hostile it is, because Rory takes every chance he can get to take digs, make subliminals, and basically talk crap to Joe and about Joe on the podcast. So if he's doing that on air, I can just imagine how he goes to him behind the scenes with it. So if Rory's trying to discuss this business and these grievances with Joe with this negative energy and already on a defense and on the attack, then of course that's going to make Joe match that energy, and now he's going to look at it, I need to be on the defense and attack. Of course that's a clash. That is not going to work at all. So I believe that a lot of issue is coming from maybe Rory's emotionalness and lack of wisdom on knowing how to deal with this with a friend, which it isn't easy. It's a learning curve, that whether it's with your spouse, with a sibling, or with friends, it's a learning curve to try and do business. And yes, Parks is the best way to do it. If you're going to do the business, keep it business between lawyers and management. But Rory, his latest grievance that he had mentioned is he had went on a female's podcast, the women's podcast, See the Thing Is, and he was speaking about how comfortable, that's the term I'm going to use for it, how comfortable it is over there versus being on the Joe Budden podcast. And to me, that's obvious, like 1, 2, 3. We talking about men. The Joe Budden podcast is all men. Men like to enjoy comfort, and like to be comfortable, but men don't create that for themselves. They never have. Men normally don't get to enjoy comfortableness until a woman steps in and a woman's touch. So he mentioned potato chips and beer and all that, where at the women's is more comfortable and it's cuisine, warm food, and club soda. Well, those are women. And guess what? Women, those things that are important to us, that we're going to bring up and that we're going to demand and that we're going to make sure that we have. So I think him internalized that was the way that he chose to go about that was completely wrong, right? If y'all recall on that episode, he went like, I'm calling HR, and I went over to the females, and shit, I hate it here. I don't want to be here. I want to be over there and all of that. Number one, that was another poor way to go about that. And instead of him looking at it like, the women are over here getting treated way better than us, he should look at it like, right, those women, they made these requests and demands. Right. Let me go to who has the Joe Budden podcast and put in a request. Let me talk to my management here. Talk to them and see if they can fit in the budget, create a budget, widen the budget for this type of food. for these type of drinks, for this type of comfortability. So that was ass backwards the way that he even went about addressing that right there. So, right, let me pre-reference this with, well, I should have pre-referenced this with, I understand and appreciate Rory's grievances. Rory is going about them the wrong way, and he's not looking at the bigger picture. Of course, that podcast will be different. Those are all women, so we're going to make sure we got stuff set up the way that we like and we want. And once you peep it, like, oh, I can have comfortableness, they have comfortableness over there, you should have went to management or the overseer of the production of over there and asked them, here, can you fit in the budget? These are the things that I would like and I want. You get what I'm saying? That's how that should have been handled. And I'm quite sure that they possibly wouldn't have had no problem. Like, oh yeah, you know what? Oh, okay, y'all want this? Let me jazz it up. You can't get what you don't ask for. Where you never asked for those things before until you seen that the women had it over there, and then you still did not ask for it. You went to go and try and dog the one that you were at, verbally, publicly, and in a hostile manner. Diva. I'm telling y'all, Rory is a diva. But anyway, so he spoke on that, but some of y'all might have missed it. The Joe Budden podcast, 3 podcasts or 4 podcasts ago, actually geared this up for where we are at today. They had a conversation, and mainly it was Rory and Joe Budden discussing it, where they were speaking about when to know when you're ready to leave something, ready to be done with something, and move on. And they discussed, like, you know, you have to know, how long do I actually want to do this? When am I ready to walk away from it and stuff? And Rory had even spoke to the point that with Duce and Palooza, he was like, right, I have built that up. It was fun while I was doing it when it really wasn't profitable. But they built it up because that's the other thing. Things, you feel differently about things when it becomes an actual obligation and money and business is involved. Versus when it's something that you're doing purely out of fun. It's easier to commit to because there is no strings attached. There is no pressure attached. There is no money attached. So anyway, Rory has spoke about with Duce and Palooza as it had built up, and he said he decided to go ahead and sell it. He was like, because I don't want to party for the rest of my life. Like, I was doing it then. I was having fun. He was like, but I'm over that stage now of doing that. And they brought up podcasting and how long they felt they would want to do that. So I actually believe that was a prerequisite for where we are today. Like, if y'all was listening, they was telling us then. I do think though right now it is a financial issue, more so probably at the core for Mom. I believe it's a few other things other than money for Rory, which I stated that as far as not wanting to be seen as a understudy to Joe, not wanting to feel like Joe is his boss, not wanting to feel like he isn't on even playing field with Joe. But this is what I think. I think that they all need to respect the fact that they're all business. This is all business. It's not personal. Rory has to learn to separate the two. But I believe that with Maul and with Joe and even with Parks, they do understand and grasp that right, this is business, it's not personal. And in doing business, we're all going to do what's in our best interest. And that's whether they stay together or they separate. They're going to have to do what's in their best interest on the business end. I think on the personal end, friendship end, and stuff like that, they all need to check their egos. Joe has seemed to be a bit humble then, and actually, I don't know if y'all been paying attention. Joe has been being humble and bowing to Rory in these podcasts. The last, I'll say 10 episodes is what I noticed. Joe, like maybe 5 podcasts ago, like he's letting Rory make his digs, talk his crap, and he is letting him get it off. And he even seems like he's trying to cater to him to a degree. But Joe had even mentioned him with him. He said, yo, do I need to give you 5 minutes or whatever? He's like, I've been letting you pop this stuff off, but you just keep going further. He's like, I remember when I thought I could take my OG and all this. Now, they did go out for their 5 minutes. They had did a clock in or whatever, because they had came back, and then Rory was saying like, Parks, you was out there. Did you see he at the time we gotta stand toe to toe for our 5 minutes? So Rory was ready to box him out, which maybe they do need to physically actually get that adrenaline out, and animosity. Yeah, that's what they need to do. They need to do a therapy on a friendship end once a month. Y'all all go to team. You know how they got team building. Once a month, y'all all go to a therapy, hash out, have a big powwow about everything that y'all feeling, thinking this, not other. On the lawyer end, for the first initial meeting, y'all all sit with y'all lawyers all together and discuss the business end, get to some medium there. And then once y'all pan it out, everything's strictly through lawyers after that. And go once a month, y'all let out aggression in the ring. Y'all go and have some sparring with the gloves, you know what I'm saying? Everything above the waist, or above the belt, however they call it. Maybe, I think that they do need to do that. That will be healthy and beneficial for all of them. I'm hoping that they all can come together. Maybe this could be a way, if they do these things, that they can come together. But Rory has to check his ego. His ego right now is, to me, the biggest at play. And it's because Joe is overbearing, right? But I noticed Joe has been trying to check that. Money is involved, and maybe he does deserve more. I don't know what their contracts are, but I think Rory needs to check the ego on that aspect of, right, you're in the business sense of this podcast, you're not equal to Joe. He is your boss. Check your ego and be willing to submit to that. It's not the end of the world that, yes, your friend is the one who's your boss in this situation. And he needs to check his sense of entitlement. Instead, like I said, I guess to give y'all one example of how he handled something totally wrong. You looked at the comfort that the women had, instead of looking at it like, okay, right, those are women, those are things that they requested and demanded. We are men, so we haven't even thought about it. But right, that seems nice. I would like that. Let me go and speak with my management, with the production over here about that. Instead, you felt entitled, like they got it, I should have it. Why the fuck I ain't got it? That's basically how you came off, Rory. Entitled and like a diva. When you should have just said, oh, yeah, let me go and make note of that and have them open up the budget here for better quality food. Or whatever other comforts and luxuries that you seen that was over there. Instead, you was talking about HR, going to your lawyer, and like you take everything to be on the defense. You look for something to have a problem with. You refuse to let things go. You hold on to things quite a lot. And I know you might be thinking like, okay, you see me on a pod, you don't know me personally, but no, you can pick up a lot by listening to someone for 4 or 5 years, and you can get an idea of their personality. And I'm accurate because I know how to read people, you know what I'm saying? I don't have my degree, but I did go to school before I dropped out to take care of my son. I did go for psychology, child psychology, as well as adult psychology and stuff, as well as sociology, right? That was very intriguing to me as well when I had to take those courses. So, no, I'm not far off at all in what my assessment is of the characterization of each and every one of you guys. But I hope that y'all figure it out. Y'all get it together. Check them egos. Fans, support all of them. You do not have to put one down to support the other. You can help them mend this and come back together just by asking them like, hey, can y'all all just please check y'all egos? We love you all together. Please see what y'all can do to heal and mend this and fix this. You get what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. Don't go into, I'm boycotting the podcast. If this person is like, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't. Anyway, give me your thoughts. I might be back with a second video because I have only watched half of today's episode. I just wanted to come and give that assessment of things that have been going on that we haven't seen. And Rory has been unhappy for a while and had an angst against Joe. I think it's multiple reasons why. That's all. Y'all have a good day.